Wise Papa Smurf coming at you with massive excitement and quick yelling to get your attention. And now that I have your attention, I'm going to introduce some other people. With me is Danger Penguin. What's happening, man?
Thrilled to be here. Couldn't be happier.
Couldn't be happier. He's excited. It's fucking palatable. You can feel it in your ears.
You could just drench in that palate.
I haven't unclenched my pecs since I started the show. Okay, Wormlex, you're also here. What's up, man?
I'm also here with the manic episode going crazy, ready to go wild. Apparently we have just absolute crazy energy coming into this one. Totally ready to go. Nothing's stopping us.
It's fucking purely fabricated. Ah! So, before we recorded the podcast, I had all 6 of the main guys that are reoccurring every week, and we were all sitting in the same room. We're like, all right, guys, who wants to podcast this week? And everybody's like, I don't know. I kind of rather go on Saturday. And then everyone's like, but I'm having fun playing games right now. So it's like 6 Eeyores in the room. And finally, Danger's just like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm in. And then, that inspired me. And I'm like, I hated this idea a minute ago, but I am fucking there. And then Wormlex is like, okay, I'll do it.
Whoa. Don't rope me in with the Eeyores of this group. I said I was in this morning. I've been ready to go. I'm ready to talk
Winnie
about
the Pooh from the
League
start.
of Legends. Yeah. Oh, bother.
So I look over and I'm like, are you guys ready to go? And Wormlex has his head stuck in a honey jar, like balls deep. Like, dude,
gotta have my honey, all right?
Did somebody say something to me?
Like, get that shit off your head. We're recording. And you're like, oh, okay.
The best part is no one will understand any of these references because no one under the age of, 30 has ever heard of Winnie the Pooh. So.
They still haven't.
I'm 25 and I'm...
Wow, you have aged poorly.
All right, just like that, I bow to you guys.
Hey, sorry about that walker I sent you for your birthday. I just thought,
just assumed.
Just thought it was gonna go rough for you in the next couple.
My inability to walk has nothing to do with me being 25. Okay.
Yeah.
The arthritis in my legs is it's terrible. I've been playing with my feet for too long.
I'm just telling you, I clearly don't use it, but Just for Men gel is doing good by you, brother. It looks so natural, I can hardly tell.
Dapper today.
Thank you.
And is that spray on hair? Because I've been meaning to try that. I got nothing going on up here.
I was gonna say, do you want to take off the hat and continue this conversation?
No, man. Go ahead. I'm full on like Greek ADC Forgiven level hairline. So, I was just wondering because yours looks great. No, if I could comb it like that, then I'm sold.
I actually go to the same place as Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. We all get together and do our hair together to keep it this fresh. Yeah, so have you seen their hairlines before they were rich? They were terrible, absolutely atrocious. But suddenly they're amazing, and you're welcome. That was
so my mom. Like side note, my mom came up to me out of nowhere because I was like making jokes about my own baldness because that's literally how it doesn't really affect me.
It's how he copes.
Yeah, it's how I prevent my crushing loss of self-esteem. As I wrap everything in a pillow of comedy, and then it makes the crying stop.
It's exactly why you started a League of Legends podcast.
Right, with young people who surely won't talk about it, And so I was like, I made a joke about my hairline. I was like, oh yeah, something. I don't know what I said. It was like a adult joke, so it wasn't. It was kind of like, oh. And it was one of those, right?
Something you chortle at.
Yeah. Oh, we're all old. Like, we're dying. And then that's it, right? And so we were doing that.
Life is finite.
Raising kids is suffering. I look forward to buying groceries.
It gets me out of the house for a couple hours.
It's freedom. Huh? That chore that you do? That's my free time. So anyway, so I was talking to my mom and I made some comment about my hair falling out or something. And she looks at me And she stops. She stares at me seriously. And now my mom is a very kind-hearted and compassionate person. She was a high school counselor for years, right? Like, so she helped people through emotional shit. And, my dad is also like, I don't know, real well off. And they're still together. So hence my mom has some money and has some compassion. And she looks at me and she goes, just say the word. And I go, what? And she was like, you want to ever fix that? You want to ever get rid of that? Yeah. We'll just say the word. I was like,
Money buys hair.
I was like, what are you like hair plugs or what are you talking about? And she's like, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes to bring my baby boy back to life.
And you're like, this is really like
you need like a kidney transplant.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like,
whatever it takes.
And it's like you're gonna go black market harvest some hair off orphans. Is how this
thick
is.
And thin, son. I'll be there for you. I don't care if we have to scalp another person.
I'll scalp a baby right now. We'll just shove those stem cells on your head. They're gonna grow right in. That's how it works, right? Right?
Yeah, that's what Planned Parenthood is for. Yeah.
So, if I ever want to go full Tobias Funke, and one of these days I'm just gonna like come to the podcast, I'm gonna have like long flowing hair, and I'm gonna take off my hat, and it's just gonna like spill out like Tarzan. Like, hey bitches.
You better wear jean shorts then if you're going Tobias Funke on this.
Some ripped shorts.
I don't know if it's the what was that line? I don't know if it's the pills or the 10,000 hair plugs I had in one sitting, but I'm not feeling so hot right now. I'm having a hard time standing up.
Who could know?
But yeah, so she literally offered, and then I'm like, what are you? I'm cool. Like this is fine. And she's like, oh, okay. I just didn't want you to feel bad about yourself.
You're gonna get like a gift certificate for Christmas this year for like a consultation.
No. She said, and I quote, "Oh, good. I just didn't want you to feel bad about yourself." And I was like, "Well, I do now. Thanks, Mom, for like calling me out on how shitty my hair looks. Like, appreciate you."
She's just been waiting for the opportunity for you to open the door so she could swoop in and give that advice.
She's like, we'll get you those hair plugs. I've already found 10 orphans. Yeah.
Have you ever seen those god-awful videos of in China where like people tried to like capture like teenagers or young adults to take them for like the black market organ donations, and they pretend they're like, oh, this is my lost mentally handicapped son, and don't worry, he's only fighting us to take him because he doesn't understand why we're taking him. Because there's like a group of
he really wants us to give his organs.
Yeah, like it's so fucked up. There's just these normal like middle-aged people like grabbing this poor guy, like dragging him into a car, and like all these people are just standing around watching, not doing a thing, and it's like that dude is about to go get his organs harvested. Like,
oh, that's fucked up, man.
So
we really learned something from World.
My point to this is there's definitely people. I know the Chinese don't have the greatest hair, but there are some people out there who are being captured already. So,
Well, all I'm saying is I'm just going to go the easier route and follow a long-haired brunette fella that seems to be taking care of his shit into the barber shop and hold a garbage bag right below his head and be like, this is cool. Don't worry about it. I got this.
You're going to come back with like shittily glued on hair to your head. Like, guys, look at my natural hair I grew.
Like a Santa Claus-sized garbage bag sack full of human hair. And be like, this is great, guys.
If you're going to go that way, next time you're just falcon fucking, just pull out a few feathers and just put them right up top.
Yeah, just put them right on top. So, yeah, either that or like, so I heard like the hair transplant thing, like they take hair follicles from like other parts of your body, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like grizzly as fuck out here, right? Like I could lose 3/4 of this and still be normal, right? Or just like what's
normal,
or just like what's growing on my back, just lance that, and then just put it up here, and then people are gonna be like, God damn, look at him.
Look at his back hair head. That is pretty.
Weird. Weird that it grew back. And I'm like, yeah, stress, right?
Anxiety.
Well,
Like,
guys,
do crazy stuff to you.
I just
guys
realized
are always
it.
toeing the line of like keeping down there trimmed up and nice. So if you just take
Oh
some
yeah, I
of
don't
that, so
care
there's
about
less
that.
down there, that's pube hair. It's
No,
perfect.
see,
It's
okay, so let me
nice
tell
and
you,
curly.
Wormlex, let me tell you a little story about being over 30 and married. I don't care anymore. And it
Surprising.
it keeps my crotch warm. So win-win. You know, I mean,
Win-win.
really,
Yeah.
it's a win-win. So I think I'd rather keep that where it is. My back, on the other hand, like I do like to swim, but when I swim, I don't swim with my balls out. And even if I did, it would still keep my balls warm.
Oh,
You're not
So-
doing it
your
right
balls
then.
out? Yeah, what the hell, man? You're missing out.
I swim with my family, you weirdos.
Sweet
Like,
freedom. But just
hey.
next time you're at a family pool, just be like, time to take a dip.
well, guys, we're out on the dock here at the lake, kids. Why don't we all jump in on the lily pad? And what, Dad? Why are you taking off your pants? Just
It's time
getting
to see what God gave you.
time to dip your balls in the lake, boys. Let's go. Like, nope,
Yeah, it's not
that's not weird. So,
natural. It's where they came from. So
all right. So before we actually begin the actual podcast in earnest,
this is a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're
Yeah.
just going to cut this first 12 minutes.
honestly, we need to just put in like a timestamp for people
Yeah.
and be like,
Cutting
and-
room floor. If you
Yeah.
if you care about League of Legends, go
Yeah.
to 32 minutes and then you can start.
if you hate the shit we do, then just go right here. And then this is when the personality has gone out of the podcast and we get down to other shit. But
Good
So
time
I
to
was-
take a drink.
yeah, well, I had to. I'm about to tell a story. You can't be parched or something like that. So like,
Good
I hesitate to almost tell this story because it involves hunting and guns, and people get upset about those things. And I don't want to seem like too like this is pro Second Amendment because it's not. I don't really have an opinion on Second Amendment. If people want to have guns or if you think it's dangerous, whatever. I'm firmly in the I don't give a fuck camp. If the government said I'm gonna take all your guns tomorrow, I'd be like, cool. I need like a coupon or something so I can buy other shit.
At least
Yeah.
you paid me for it.
One
Yeah.
coupon, please.
I need something here in recompense, and then fine, I don't really give a shit because I mean, all
You
that
must
is
quarter this army, man.
yeah, yeah. That I would actually have a bigger problem. But I mean, I don't really care. I grew up. We used guns responsibly as a tool, so it was never really an issue. Whatever. And so like all the like guns are the devil. Every gun ends up in a school shooting. Like I don't believe any of that because I grew up and it was literally the opposite of that. But at the same time, I also understand that my situation is not indicative of the entire population and blah blah blah. So
Disclaimer.
disclaimer. I don't like this is not a one way or the other speech about gun control or hunting or gun rights or whatever. It just is a story that involves a gun. So don't let it be any further than that. So I was hunting and I'd gotten this 22 and I'm like, I'm gonna go hunt. Like this is what I need to do. And I'm the 12, right? And I step out the back, and in the back of my house, there's like no other houses back there. There's nothing behind it. It's just like woods. And I'm like, cool. I will hunt these woods. And I walk out and I look around, and the first thing I see is a squirrel. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I can shoot at a squirrel. I probably won't hit it because it's moving, and it's jumping from tree to tree. Like, I'm not that good of a shot. But at least I'll feel like I've taken an effort at this whole hunting thing. Because before that, I only shot targets, and they never move. You just try to hit in the bullseye or whatever. So
Right.
I was like, I'm gonna let's see if I can bag me a squirrel. So the squirrel is like running across a branch, and then it jumps from a tree to another tree, and it's still running. And I'm like, I I wonder if I can hit that squirrel on the move. And I pull up and I'm dragging across and take a breath, finger then trigger, blam! Squirrel falls out of the tree. I'm like, oh my god, I hit the squirrel. Well, like I'm 12 and I'm now a hunter, and so I'm like, well, I have to. I'm gonna have to cook this squirrel. I'm gonna have to eat the squirrel, right? Because that's what you do. Like you don't take a life without doing something with it. And I hadn't eaten, so I'm gonna eat a squirrel and see what squirrel tastes like. Because respect the
Why
animal. It died for this, so I'm gonna do that. And so I go over to find the squirrel, and I find the spot where the squirrel landed, and there's clearly evidence of that having happened, but there is no squirrel. I was like, oh my god, what the fuck? Where's the squirrel? And I look, and I see this squirrel, and it's just clawing its way back up the tree like this. And I'm like,
oh no.
Oh shit. I was like, I didn't kill it. Oh my god. And then I was like, well, do I let it live? Will it survive this? Or is this something that I have to because it's a 22, man. That's like shooting a squirrel with a cannon. And I'm starting to feel just terrible, like really, really guilty. By the way, this is the story of why I don't hunt. Because other people are like, let's go hunt a deer. And I'm like, no. And that I have no interest in it whatsoever. And
took it by his bare hands and he choked the life out of it.
So, well, wait. So the squirrel's just like hand over hand, like crawling for life up this tree, and it's so fucked up. And I'm like, oh my god, this is so terrible. Like I feel so bad. I want to help him, and now I'm all conflicted. And I'm like, I'm never doing this shit again. And then I look down, his back legs don't work. I have paralyzed this squirrel. And everything that I felt was like magnified 10 times. And I'm like,
no.
Oh god. I was like, oh no. And I'm having like Bambi's mother and like all this shit is in my head. And I'm like, oh my god. And I'm like, I start crying and I feel terrible. And I'm like, I have to end the squirrel. It won't live. Even if it survives the wound, I've got to do this. And then I'm definitely going to be eating some squirrel. Because
the only option.
Well, that's what you do, whatever. I was like, I gotta put this thing out of its misery, and so I put the gun to his head, but I'm tearing up and I'm crying, and I'm like, I'm sorry, squirrel. And then I pull the trigger, and I hear thump, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's over. Then I look down, and the squirrel is crawling its way back up the tree again, and I'm like, oh my god, he's like a Highlander.
Classic zombie squirrel.
I was like, and so I cock shoot, and I'm like, finally it's done, because I just couldn't. I was like, this needs to be over for him, and I feel terrible. So then I made a thing, and I cooked squirrel, and I buried the bones, and I did all the stuff, and like the Indians that I was taught about in school, I use every part of the squirrel. And I do stuff. And
Native Americans.
Oh yeah, okay. That's well, okay. To be fair, they were
politically correct here.
To be fair, they were Indians when I was taught about it in school. They are now referred to as Native Americans, and I should make an effort. They never
were Indians.
That's true. Indians were Indians. Yeah. So anyway, I feel fucking horrible. I will never hunt again in my lifetime. And it took me one squirrel to have a super traumatic experience. I named it.
Wait, you named the squirrel that you killed?
Yeah. Well, I had to name it because I made it a grave.
And its
with a
name
headstone.
Was Wise Papa Smurf. And it all comes full circle.
So I made a headstone. I made a little cross out of sticks and carved into the stick. This was truly super traumatic experience for me, right? I imagine more traumatic for the squirrel, but
slightly.
Just a little bit.
Barrel after barrel.
And when I felt so bad, I was like, dude, That is like me shooting a person with like a howitzer cannon, right? Like, how are you not dead? And then for me to have to do it like 5 times, I was like, this squirrel would have been like the Hercules of his community. Like, had I not
You
have
killed Hercules.
and like
I love how you said how traumatic it was for you, but with the squirrel, it's like I used to imagine like a guy in the army. He's like, "Yes, I'd like to sue someone from the other side. Yeah, I shot him, and he didn't die right away, and I just felt really bad. I would like to sue him for traumatic.
well, I mean, I will tell
for
you,
me because
it
that
was-
was very traumatic for
I
me.
mean, I'll tell you, man, it was
He's
emotionally
dead, but
it was emotionally distressing. It really true. I mean, like truly
right.
like I don't know what brought this up the other day, but somebody had talked to me about hunting and asked me if I wanted to hunt. And I said, "No, man, I don't hunt." And then they looked at me like I'm some kind of a huge pussy. And I'm like, "Well, I mean, okay, so," and then I explained the story, and then they were absolutely sure I was a huge pussy because I'm still emotionally beaten up over a squirrel. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if that makes me a puss or not. But like, I don't know. Listeners, tell me, am I a puss or not? Am I like, I may be objectively evil now. Like, I'm probably everybody's least favorite podcaster because I murdered a squirrel when I was 12. But like, you know, what's the public opinion on that? I'm just curious how everybody weighs in. I mean, to be fair, I did do all the stuff you're supposed to do when you hunt. Like, I bawled all the way through it. Did not feel good about any of that. Because like you feel this horrific guilt, and then you're carving the thing like for meat and skin and whatever, and that's like part of hunting that is just. There's no good way to do that and not feel terrible about it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Yeah.
like I'm not a person who's like shoots something and then like, oh, I shot it. Okay, I feel accomplished. Like, no, that doesn't do anything. Like, I feel bad fishing. You catch a fish, and I'm like, that shit looks like, even when you catch and release, I'm like,
that looks like it hurts.
that shit hurts. Like, that fish is not.
As its hooks gouge through its.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, like, I'm also a hypocrite because I'm not a vegetarian, so, I don't know.
No, I get what you mean, though. I mean, I literally have never hunted. The most hunting I've done is fishing. And I once there was like a family of raccoons crossing the street one time, and I hit one of the babies, and I felt sad for like a week afterwards. So definitely on board with like, I have a lot of compassion for animals and will not be doing my own like killing, even though I will constantly be eating meat and stuff like that.
Constantly.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Just too
I don't know.
tasty.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird ground to be in, right? You feel like, especially like I've watched a couple documentaries on like the inhumane conditions for animals and slaughterhouses and stuff like that. It's like I feel bad, but I still ate McDonald's today, so
right.
Like I don't know. It's easy.
Don't worry.
Out of sight, out of mind thing.
You didn't have any real meat. You're good.
Yeah.
It was a chicken sandwich, anyways. So chickens, they don't feel pain, right?
Yeah,
no,
they just run around, man.
Plus, those sandwiches are mostly feet.
Right.
Like, so
some nice chicken talons.
But I mean, realistically though, I don't know. Danger, you ever hunted? You ever do that?
I'm not. No.
Okay.
I mean, fishing is the top of the line for me.
Well, I'll tell you this. I can relate to a fish because when I was fishing and I was little, my dad actually fished me in the back. Like, did one of these, and then it goes clank, and I'm like, ah! And then he pulls forward, and I'm like, ah! And he's like, oh shit. And then we hooked that
like, now you know how it feels every time you catch a fish. Keep that shit in your mind. I did that on purpose, son.
I know. Well, the good news is it's covered with a worm, so it only goes in like that far, and then the worm kind of acts as a natural stopper for it. So, but still, that shit.
Natural lubricant. So.
No, it does not. It doesn't help. I'll just tell you this: it doesn't help in any way other than it prevents the hook from going in slightly further. But yeah, it sucked.
More skin.
I'll tell you, that sucked really bad. So I can, man, a fish, like, that sucks. I feel bad for them. But also, they're delicious. And squirrel, by the way, squirrel, not bad. Because if you guys were curious, if you guys
see a squirrel, instead of stopping for it, I'll just swerve into it.
Well, I'm just saying, it's essentially a tree rat, but like
And rats taste delicious.
And
so
rats.
obviously a tree rat would.
But I mean,
Do we
for real though, squirrel, not bad. Super gamey. But
Well, it probably had to do with a 12-year-old cooking it too.
yeah, I'd also imagine they eat a lot of acorns. So that doesn't
not
help.
properly seasoned and well prepared.
Well, it got the saltiness of my tears because I couldn't hardly even see what the fuck I was doing. I was literally beaten up about that for years. Like, I don't hunt anymore, ever. Just nothing. I'll do targets though. Targets are fun. But
yeah,
like,
no, I don't see any problem with not wanting to hunt. I don't like the people who think it's like, oh, you don't like to do this thing that's commonly associated with like manly stuff, like that makes you a pussy. Like, fuck that. You can
That's
do
why
what
I
you
play
want and
video
like
games. I
what
want
you
everyone to know how manly I am.
correct.
Exactly.
Right. We all
Yeah.
understand that. But I mean, here's the
I
thing.
only
Like,
play female champions.
I don't. Yeah, nice. I see. That's the thing is, I don't begrudge people who enjoy the activity.
Right.
Okay, that's fine. Like, it's something that you like to do. It is literally not for me. You know, I feel about hunting like I feel about gun control. Like, I like the fact that I have the ability to do it, but yet I wouldn't be sad if I didn't.
Yeah.
You know, and
For me,
so
it all boils down to like, if you're not hurting someone else, I don't have a problem with it. The second that you try to like make it like that whole like gatekeeping mentality, like, oh, you don't like this thing, you're not a man. Like the second you use it to try to bring someone else's
oh, okay. I thought you
like
meant
happiness down.
okay. I thought you were going full like Dick Cheney. Like,
Oh no,
hunting is fine until you shoot your pal in the face with a shotgun.
No,
yeah, well,
fault.
yeah, that's a good.
That's where
an
things took a
accident. That's just a
turn.
mistake because you're an idiot.
Yeah,
but
like that's a
the
good
whole-
line to draw in the sand, Wormlax. Really going out on a limb there. Controversial opinions from
Shoot
Wormlax.
squirrels, not your friends.
Yeah.
I know it's a yeah. I take hard stances. Okay, I know that the podcast here we don't like to take these controversial stances, but
That's right.
not shooting your friends is where I draw the line.
Wow,
Yeah.
Wormlax really
That's smart.
balls out on that. And I
Thank
hope you've
you.
enjoyed this episode of Squirrels Anonymous. I think that's all the time we have today, folks.
Squirrels Anonymous. Should definitely be our next podcast.
So I've officially wasted 27 minutes of your
I
day.
made a joke about 32 minutes at 12 minutes, so we've nailed it.
Nice. The foresight on this guy. Okay, so we had some things we wanted to talk about. I don't remember what mine was now because I launched into a life story. But I know.
Wormlax had something.
Well, before Wormlax's thing, because I think Wormlax's thing is going to be good, and we'll probably eat up the rest of our time. I want to talk about your thing first, Danger. So
Okay.
let's talk about your thing. What are you
Okay.
bringing to the table today?
So I saw the Samira reveal, as I'm sure most people who pay attention to League of Legends has. She has an interesting kit with a lot of words. So what I equate a lot of words to is a bit too much. Why do you need a passive that has 3 separate paragraphs, right? You know, like that.
About 3 champions too much.
There you go. So as I read through Samira's thing, and you know, like you've heard us talk about new champion releases before. I've actually think that they've hit some well recently. I think Lilia, while incredibly annoying, fills a new style of play. I think Yone might be a little overtuned right now, but I do think that there are levers in place to get him into a good place so that he's not like this horribly annoying champ for all of time like his brother Yasuo, right? So granted, I'm stating that. But what there is in these kits is like very long descriptions because they have so much going on. And one of the things that stood out to me about Samira was her W. It is a wind wall that works in all directions. Okay.
Okay.
Yasuo is known for his wind wall, and it is commonly referred to as the most frustrating ability in the game. Right? No one likes it except for Yasuo. It is horrible. So
well, no. To be fair, I said that I believe Windwall could be balanced if every champion in League had one.
Okay. That is a fair point. So maybe that's where they're going.
Yeah, we need it on more champions. All the champions.
I'm never gonna play League again.
Yeah.
So the only thing I do on Twitter is follow League people, and then sometimes comment on League things. So he asked, what are people's initial impressions of the kit? Squad 5. So he's the designer for the kit. And I said, what is the cooldown on W, and what are your thoughts? So I'll tell you exactly what I said. I have it right here. So I said, with her W, how long is the cooldown, and how long does the shield last? Was the point to mimic Yasuo, only making it cover all directions? And he said CD is long, starts at 30 seconds, and it lasts 1 second. So that's his control, right? Is that it's a 30-second long thing. You better use it wisely. I get it. It starts at that. It probably gets down to like 20 or like 18, right? I haven't looked at the ability yet. I said, thanks for responding. Follow-up question. Any thought given to reducing the cooldown but making ults immune? I think the biggest frustration point for me is seeing like your ult that has like a minute and a half cooldown get just swallowed by a normal ability. I don't think that I think that it's stupid. And so my thought is a good trigger for that would be like, okay, you can absorb projectiles for a second, but it's just, a Q or, or an E, it wouldn't, to me, it wouldn't feel as damning. He said, I considered it early on, but the clarity loss of making it only work against some abilities wasn't worth it, I think. I said, fair enough. She's a very cool-looking champ. Hopefully can avoid some of the pitfalls recently of the new releases, feeling overloaded, but I'm sure she will be very popular. I do think the champion looks very cool. I love the style
I agree.
of it.
I
think they fucking nailed it. I think the character is cool. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know enough about the kit. I need to play it. I need to play against it before I can start really forming opinions, but I know that Windwall sucks. And so when I see Windwall on an ADC, I think, oh my God, that sucks. I also don't love that her passive is 3 paragraphs, right? And then he said, I think she reads more complicated than she actually is, but we'll see how it all turns out. One of the things that I liked is this engagement, right? I was able to literally contact the person who designed this, ask a question, and have a back and forth of multiple short conversations. It just took a minute to read, but it shows that Riot is listening. While they might ignore it in the long run, right? They're at least engaging, right? Yeah. And I think that's a positive, right? I honestly do. Like he gave me his thought process. He was like, I don't think that we should eliminate ults because they're a missile, because then it will lose clarity on what is and isn't absorbed. And it made me think, like, League is an incredibly difficult game to get into. To me, like, there's so many abilities out there that do so many things. So making one not work against ults, and it says it in the thing, I think would be something that people could absorb over time. But I understood his point for saying why it wouldn't, and it's interesting to me that he did actually consider, like, what happens if we didn't make this, ults immune or something like that. So I liked the engagement. I thought that was cool. Like, I felt like, I had, for a second, I had a voice that was being listened to by someone who is working on it. And he gave me his reasoning. I understand his reasoning. I may not completely agree with his reasoning, but there is a thought process there. So I just thought it was an interesting exchange, and I don't think something that you would get in every game. That level of communication and feedback and back and forth. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that somebody from Riot actually engaged you, and they clearly do not listen to the podcast.
Who does?
Because I remember your rock hard anti-Riot rant like 3 episodes ago.
It wasn't rock hard anti-Riot. It was rock hard anti-certainly T.
Oh, yeah. Fuck that guy. Who's probably friends with this guy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're friends. There's no doubt about it.
They go way back. So anyway, no, I will say, like, what you said about the aesthetic and everything of Samira, like, that champion's cool. She looks like a bad bitch, and I'm like, yeah, this I can, like,
yeah, commando style, short range ADC, pulls out a blade. Like that.
Yeah.
There are cool. There are a lot of cool aspects. A very, very clever. champion.
Guns and swords mixed are always a cool aesthetic.
Yep.
Always. Like,
Mhm.
no way around that. It's fucking cool. And it always will be. So I'm down. They got me with that. But then whenever I watch the gameplay, I'm like, oh god, is this gonna be like another like another of the last several champs where I'm looking like, what can this champion not do? And then
Right.
how the fuck do I stop it? Because it's like I'm just there going, if you can win ball everything that can happen, and also fly into me with the Katarina ult, and also have Yasuo win wall, and also
Have
do
range.
have range and dashes every 5 seconds, and like, how do I stop that? Like, if that gets ahead, how do I stop that? And in that case, if it's one of those, it needs to be so fucking weak to start that I can literally like push her over with a leaf. Like, you better be fucking incredible at this champion to be able to even go even enough to like challenge anything. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I've dogged on Riot before. I've given Riot props before whenever they do shit that I think deserves props, right? I will say that Riot does generally know how to design champions, I think. That being said, they tend to overdo it. And then they're a little too slow to peel off layers of the onion to a healthy level. Or they like try to cut off little bits of the whole onion and leave all the pieces there, like whittle it or something. And it's like, no, you need to be pulling layers. And you guys hesitate to do that because you don't want to leave something that's like super cool on the table. Like, look how
Mhm.
long it took to get a collie to the state that she's in now.
It's the classic. It's the most classic example. Keeping Akali's like super invisibility for as long as they did was just holding on to a mechanic that they thought was so super cool and unique, while not well knowing that it was overpowered, and yet not ever changing it because they wanted to keep it in the kit. And whatever they had to do, well, we'll take away this, we'll take away that, we'll take away this, and then we're like, okay, well, now we don't have a champion anymore, but you can still sit under the turret. Way to go. Like it just it had it's just the best example of Riot clinging to
An
a
idea.
mechanic. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, this is so unique and cool, we can't lose it. And then eventually to their credit, eventually she did lose it. It
Yeah.
just took a year or a year and a
Yeah.
half. I can't remember how long I had to ban Akali for, but it was a very long time.
And now they're having to backtrack on the different nerfs they did before, because once they took it away and all those nerfs were still there, she was like dog shit.
She was like
it
a
was really
38%
hard to-
win champion. It was like
Yeah.
literal in the tank.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's so frustrating, like with release champions, is it feels like they have that need to, like, okay, this is a release champion, we want people to play it. So I feel like they're almost always overtuned to start out. Like, no matter, like, at the end of the day, if like when Lilia was released, her kit itself isn't like insanely strong in my opinion, so she wasn't like super OP, but now people are getting the hang of it. She's doing better and better. And like with Aphelios, when he was first released, like
Ugh.
people didn't even really understand his kit, but were still dominating on him because his numbers were so good. Like I feel like that's going to be the issue with Samir when she first comes out. They might find a place where she's comfortable, balancing wise, but I feel like when she first comes out, we're gonna feel like she's taking over games because she does too much, because she has so much in her kit. And
Well, okay, so
hopefully
let me
they
back
do a
up on
better.
that. I hope she comes out in a state that's genuinely dog shit and has like a 44% win rate.
Well,
Like,
they've stated that they're trying to release people as dog shit, right? They're saying we're trying to release them in the state that we believe in like 3 or 4 months they'll be balanced. So when they first, Lilia's was at I think a 38% win rate for the first 2 weeks, because no one understood it, and then all of a sudden you saw it in pro play like 2 weeks after that. Like so, there were points. Now Yone, they've already had to nerf once, right? So I think they recognized, they thought the curve would take longer, and they already saw. I mean, he was only at like a 8% when they nerfed him, but it's because they knew that mastery curve wasn't where it was going to be.
Yeah.
You know, like
To be
they're like,
honest, I just
oh
don't
shit,
really believe them.
yeah,
I don't believe
that's
them
fair.
on the point that, oh, we're gonna make champs be weak when they come out. Like that doesn't, when you have a new champion come out, if people like them and you release a skin with them, like you want that skin to sell. You want people to be like, I absolutely want this champ. And like for people, like this isn't true for me anymore because I have so much blue essence coming out of my ass that I'll never not be able to afford a new champion. But there is certain people who are playing this game that either don't have all champs or don't have a lot of blue essence. They might not be able to afford her right out the gate. So if she's really good, they might have a few people who say, you know what, I'm going to buy some riot points so I can get this champion before I get to the blue essence curve. So I feel like as a profit standpoint, it's better for them if these new champions are good when they first come out. Whether or not that's good for the game is another question. And I don't think they would make the decision to do something like, I don't think they're gonna blatantly make her like super OP to like sell things. Like I don't think that's breaking the bank for them or anything. But I think they would my I would just assume that they would probably gear towards stronger than weaker because it's more fun to play something stronger than weaker. But
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's hard. It's always
So-
it's so hard to say from the outside looking in.
And I mean, like I said, I've looked at her kit. The kit is cool and intriguing. I just feel like it runs into me like the Echo problem, where you just have too much shit.
Yeah,
And I don't know. Well, like, okay, so the benefit to this is they have shown that they can kind of balance champions that have too much shit, but they have to be willing to like pull back on that. The part that kills me that this is not, or at least this doesn't feel as like this, is that they have mechanics that are unhealthy, that they have identified as being unhealthy, and then they put back into the game. So like Nidalee, back in the day, they're like, Nidalee's unhealthy. Her spear does too much damage from distance. We don't like that. She has too much mobility in cat form to also have spear. And the spear is not fun. It's unfun mechanic to play against. And then they're like, and now we release Zoe. I'm like, that's Nidalee. Your spear is a bubble, and then you move forward from a million miles away and blast somebody and do way more damage than a Nidalee spear ever did.
Yeah,
And
but
they-
Nidalee never had unlimited summoner spells, so she was better.
Right. And so,
oops! I didn't realize that flashing 9 times in a row is okay.
but I mean, the last time I engaged with Riot, we brought Skarzard onto the podcast.
Oh
Who,
man, I
like-
remember listening to that episode. That was before I started.
That was the most brutally awful interview I think I have ever done. With a guy who could not be more suspicious of every question I asked him. And like a lot of them were like, how do you balance it? Like, how do you balance a champion like Echo? Right? Like, what do you do to balance that? You know, do you feel like is Riot too heavily influenced in numbers? Is it that they're too unwilling to strip mechanics? Would that make the champion less fun? Like, why is there a challenge, and why are you looking? Like, what are you looking to do to solve it? Right? That's not intended to be a knife question. That's intended to be like, I am genuinely curious what your thought process is
what the philosophy is.
yeah, and like balancing a champion like Echo. Here's a couple of possibilities to talk about that I know the community's always thinking of. So pick one of those things or both. Like, it's not intended to be like, listen, you son of a bitch, you know, like. And that's how I think
It's
I
not
came.
like me talking to Certainly T or something.
Yeah, and I think he got the impression that I'm over here trying to rip out his fingernails, and I'm like, dude, I'm not. Like, it's not like that.
I wonder how with that was pretty soon after he had left Riot.
It was like
I wonder. I wonder if he just like was uncomfortable venturing into like NDA territory, maybe.
No.
If he's
No, I don't think that was it at all.
That wasn't it at all.
Because he talked about like Zoe's release and be like, I think it's hilarious all these people complaining about it when they're releasing the most perfectly balanced champion That's literally like the words that came out of his mouth. Like they seared into my brain, like listening to that podcast.
Like,
this before I had engaged with the community at all. I don't think I'd even gone to like community games at this point, but I listened to that podcast and it just like it flew into my mind and it never left. It's still right here.
I was so excited about that.
Release is the most balanced champion that has ever existed, and everyone complaining is hilarious. And then within 4 weeks, like they gutted her, like they had to. Okay,
so background information on that episode. I was so excited to have him on the podcast. Like I was a bit of like, I like your stuff. I like how you talk about stuff in patches. I like how you think about stuff. You're very entertaining. I was very shocked to see that you were leaving Riot. Like, oh my gosh. And I got you on the podcast within like a month of that. So this is like first appearance with Skarzard since he quit Riot territory. And it's like literal fucking exclusive. And I was so excited. And I'm like, I have so many questions I want to ask this guy. And then like, he said shit like that, and I'm like, are you an idiot? Like, how do you not see the logical parallels? Like, how deep are you into the Kool-Aid that you don't see that this is Nidalee 2.0? No, it's not. No, it's balanced. It's totally fine. Everybody's
balanced.
Everybody's a bitch. And I'm like, and then
who's out of touch? No, it's everyone else who is wrong.
You're out of touch.
It's the children who are wrong. Yeah, and so it's like, Jesus Christ, man. And then like he's like, no, it's perfectly balanced. It's fine. They'll never touch it. Blah blah blah. You just wait. And I'm like, okay. I hope you're. I mean, like,
go anymore.
I'm like, man. Like, I hope you're wrong. And fucking for the next like 4 patches, it was like, we're gonna beat Zoe like hard. Yeah, like
they might call CPS on us. Like,
yeah, like we didn't use the Nerf bat, we used a real bat and just beat the shit out of her.
And every time we did, for some reason, her win rate climbed. So
yeah, so it's like I was like, that interview was so fucking terrible. But regardless, like that was my first moment where like truly like I was a like, I don't know what you'd even call it, like a Riot sympathizer, I guess, at the time, where I was like, I think Riot does a good job. I think they get a lot of flack from the community. I think they really listen. I think all of these things that are all positive. I was overwhelmingly positive in the favor of Riot for the most part, right? I mean, there were a couple of things that were like undeniable fuck ups, right? Where you're just like, come on, guys. Like, you know, like the big one that I always mention is they did a thing where they're like, we don't make defensive items that scale offensively because they're just broken and it'll just make certain champions go to crazy shit levels and you can't do anything about it. So we're gonna, Atma's Impaler is gone. And then the next season they put in the exact same item. And I'm like,
yep.
You fucking just said it, you dumb fuckers. Like, listen to the things that you say. Your word.
I just imagine that picture of the guy who can't hold all those lines, but instead of lines, it's Riot holding a bunch of defensive attack items.
Yeah.
Oh no, Black Cleaver. Oh no, there goes Death's Dance into the meta. Oh no.
But I mean, like, these are the things that I'm like, those are the things that I thought they fucked up. But overwhelmingly, I was like super in favor of everything that Riot was doing. I was like, Riot's great. I love Riot. And then I got Skarzard on the show, and I'm like, what the fuck?
He's like, let me just crush all that hope.
I was like, hey, you know how you kind of like Riot? Let me just crush that real quick as fast as I possibly can. And then I'm going to smash the ashes of that down, crush it into a little ball, and then blow it in your face. You know, like, like, what the fuck happened? Like, I liked you. Like, what, you know, what is this? But anyway, you know, that being said, like, I am worried. I am worried about the like circuit. Like, one, Pantheon pisses me off that he has a shield that blocks everything. The fact that Braum's character is literally built around an impenetrable shield as his item, and his shield literally doesn't block everything. Like, what does he do better than Pantheon?
But it's only in one direction.
Yeah. And now
So is Braum! Like,
that's why Pantheon can play support better than Braum.
Yeah, and it's like he blocks fucking everything, and Braum just takes reduced damage. Like, what? And oh, by the way, Pantheon's stun is instant. You don't have to charge that shit.
Yeah.
It's like
He'll execute your ADC with his Q too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
but
like
at least
I don't know.
Braum can fly to mid lane in one ult.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh wait, that's Pantheon.
That's Pantheon.
Yeah, I keep getting shit confused.
But I mean, there's shit like this that doesn't make a whole lot of design sense to me. But at the same time, like the Yasuo thing, honestly, like I say, give Wimwall to everybody. By the way, that was tongue in cheek, guys. I don't want them to actually do that. But like,
that was a joke. What?
Yeah. But no, I did say that like Yasuo's shield, like his wind wall, would be balanced if it didn't operate if it operated on a delay. Because the problem with Yasuo's wind wall is you can literally get hit with a projectile,
and
then wind wall, and it comes like from your back, purges all the things that hit you, and then purges all the things that would hit you, and it's too late. Like if I fire off my combo, and you're like, oh, there are 3 projectiles in there, wind wall, it paralyzes me where I can't really do anything until after you've done something. And that's the problem. Like, if wind wall would just go out and wouldn't have an effect until it stops, then it would be balanced.
Right, because they'd have to prepare for it.
Yeah, it's like a Terracult. If Terracult was instant, it's broken. The fact that it takes 2.5 seconds and then lasts 2.5 seconds means that it requires foresight to be useful. I don't know why that's not true of Windwall. Like, Windwall is even like, it takes negative half a second. Because while we're calculating damage, you can actually Windwall it. And
sometimes you can see yourself heal when you Windwall. Like you took the damage and then all of a sudden you heal it.
Yeah. Through the healing power of wind. That's straight
out
of
Avatar taught me.
Yeah.
Wait a second, that's water. You're a liar. I just finished Legend of Korra. I know airbending.
I'm getting everything wrong.
That monkey can earthbend?
Lemur.
Yeah, do you remember that episode where they faked it and he pushed the wind through the vent and it lifted up the rock?
Yeah.
And Momo was standing there like this, and he was like, that was like the best.
Oh my god, that lemur is earthbending.
Yeah,
and Sokka's like, no, it's the girl, you idiot.
That was like the best joke of Avatar, in my opinion.
Great show.
Okay. Anyway. Wormlex, you had something you wanted to talk about, and we have 8 minutes.
All right. All right, speed run. So, I'm not going to name the person because I want them to stay anonymous. Haha, see what I did there? But I hope that they listen to this and understand
and are thoroughly chastised.
The place that we're coming from, and that they get some good advice out of this. I had someone approach me about coaching, but not only did they want coaching, they wanted to ask me about boosting and if I had any outlets for boosting or any advice on it. And I straight up just told them at the time, I'd be happy to coach you, but I won't give any advice. I don't think that boosting is the right way to go. Their goal is to get better at the game and to climb to a higher rank because they have some achievements that they want out of that. And I think that it's really going to hurt them to just get boosted rather than achieve it themselves. And I think in the long run, especially with a video game that you're not going to I'll just be straight up, this person is not going pro. This is not a person who's on the cusp of getting that insane rank that makes the difference in their life. This is a minimal rank that helps them, but does not change everything.
You're not boosting people to Challenger?
Surprisingly, no. I can't even get myself out of platform, so...
Who knew?
I wanted us to talk about it because I think that...
Wormlike's coaching advice is all right, I need you to play worse so I can tell you how to play better.
I need you to come down to my level so I understand.
You get down here at this level, then my coaching will be relevant to you.
Exactly. Yeah. But the reason I want to talk about it is because I think that the reason too this person's asking for boosting is something we can all sympathize with, is frustration over this ranked season. That they're having a lot of frustration trying to climb. And I think this person is as good as the rank they're trying to get to. It's not like unobtainable, and like it's trying to get from silver to gold. And that's not, I don't think that's unobtainable for anyone who's willing to put in the time to try and learn. I think that's a very obtainable goal for any sound-minded individual who's willing to put work into the game. So I don't know. I just wonder what your guys' thoughts are, because I really was trying to discourage them from seeking out boosting, because I think in the long run it would hurt them rather than help.
Right.
Yeah, so I completely understand like I know some people are gonna be like, it's a video game, like why does it matter? Like, well, it matters to all of us. We're all climbing and trying to get better and improve our skills. Like when I first hit plat, I was really proud of my plat border, and it was something that I achieved, and it was great. So, and other people could say that's a video game, that doesn't matter at all, and I'd say fuck you. So I don't care what you think. but it is. It's a video game, and you're playing it, and we're trying to climb, and I want that that next border, and I'm really proud of myself for hitting diamond this season. It was the first time that I did that, and so I understand the desire to, display that and show that you're of that capability, especially if you believe you're of that capability. I think in the long run, like Wormlack said, you're just doing yourself a disservice, because if you have the ability to get there, and let's say he gets a boost and someone boosts him to gold 4, and then he plays in gold 4 and he stays in gold 4, right? He doesn't demote down to silver 1. Well, and then in his head, you would be like, see, that justifies it. Like, I was a gold 4 player. And my statement would be, yes, you were a gold 4 player, and you always could have been a gold 4 player. You could have gotten there on your own. You could have done it and not spend money and not go against the summoner's code, right? It's a frustrating season. And I think you'll find every season's frustrating for one reason or another. Maybe next season they'll have gotten rid of all of the toxicity, and they have properly banned everyone who should be banned. No, this is a fantasy world, obviously, but and all the champions are, not that. Well, no, I don't want to go there.
And Samira is balanced.
Exactly. So, but maybe next season your frustration is it's maybe you're really great at juggernauts and it's tank season next season. Maybe because tanks have been kind of kept down. They're not in the meta nearly as often right now. So then that sucks next season. You're going to be frustrated because you're great on juggernauts and it's tank season. So you now have another uphill climb, because that's not what you play, and that's what's strong right now. But my argument is still going to be is you can get to where you need to go playing what you want to play. Yeah. If you put in the time and if you truly try to maximize it. And I know it sucks being in silver 2 when you really think you hit gold. I understand people trying to climb because they want the rewards, right? It's cool to get the victorious skin and all that. Mm-hmm. But the boosting, to me, you're paying to diminish your own achievements is basically what it is. I paid this person to get me somewhere that I didn't end up earning. So yes, I now have this, but I will always think, at least I was always think that wasn't mine. Now, if you want to duo queue and get there with a friend,
let me ask you this. Yeah. The first time you get to gold, you guys had that moment. The first time you got to gold, how did you feel?
Great.
It was good.
I mean, it
5
felt,
seconds.
Well, it's fine. I mean, to me, it was that same feeling you get whenever you raise both hands and you're running through the tape at the end of the race. I was like, oh my god, I did it! Holy shit, this is real. It's happened, And I felt like that again the first time I got to platinum, and I felt like that again the first time I got to diamond. If you paid for a boost to gold in the previous season, does that feel like anything?
No.
And then if you get gold next season, do you feel as good, or since technically
Yeah,
you're
and that's what
already
I'm saying
gold?
is
Yeah, it's like yeah,
that's what I'm saying is you paid to be there before. You already
Yeah.
had the thing attached to your account, and when you got there, does it feel like anything? Did it feel
right.
like
No,
you
it,
accomplished anything, or did it feel like you caught up to your boost?
right. It just
Yeah.
feels empty. I would think. So
Yeah, and I think the other big thing is no matter how many people you tell that, oh, I got gold, I did this, like you're always gonna know that you're the one that boosted you, and
Well, and that's
you may.
the fucked up thing is you pick boosting. I don't know how many people. Boosters don't give a fuck to cover up their tracks. They just boost you, right?
well,
And
they
so
get paid first, right?
right,
So
they get paid first. So they're just gonna get the job done, and that's that. They're gonna switch your summoner spells, so it's obvious to everyone in the world that your ass got boosted. You know,
all of
like
a sudden
oh
you'll be playing a completely different character that
yeah,
you never even touched, and all of a
like
sudden you go 20 0 and 5, and just
yeah, like
run
man,
through.
you're really good at Kindred. Why don't you play that more? Don't I gave it up for Lent. But it's not even. It's like way past. Don't worry about it. Gave it up. Never brought it back up. Don't worry about. It's like all your friends are gonna fucking know. Like it's not
Yeah.
your achievement. You're just buying a skin at that point, and
Yeah,
it's
and I think
like.
And the
I don't know.
Victoria skins aren't that great normally anyway.
No.
Just throwing it out there.
I think the other big thing is you're going to get, I think, complacent too. If the one goal is to get to this one thing in league, and I mean it all comes from like what your enjoyment out of league is, but yeah, like improving and getting to the point that you want to is like a lot of fun in my opinion. I mean, it's why I play league and I have for so long. And like when you hit that, like, and you, I don't think you can even like demote out of gold at that point. Like I think if you got there,
Oh,
if
you
boosted,
can. I demoted out of
can you?
plat this year. It
Not gold
happened.
though.
No, you could
You
do
held
it,
on.
but
You
I
held
held on.
strong in gold.
I held strong to gold. But I mean, I'll tell you, like, I'm gonna advocate for the devil, right? Um, for me, I've been diamond before. I am struggling this year in platinum. It is annoying to me, and the people around me don't play the game as to what I am accustomed. Like, I don't get the follow on the things I want. I'm sitting there going, oh, my teammates are bad, and like I feel all those feelings that if I could just be back to diamond, then my enjoyment of the game would improve substantially. And like a lot of people feel that about whatever X Elo is. Like that's the land of milk and honey. That's where everything's gonna be fucking
Sweet
great.
ambrosia.
Like, oh God, if I could just get to my people in platinum, or reunite with my long lost like shitters in gold, and like then I'd be where I belong or whatever, because you have this sense that you belong there, but yet you can't climb there. I get that. Feel the same way. Feel the same way in platinum right now. It's frustrating as shit to me, and I would enjoy the game, but then the reality is like I look back on those games and I'm like, man, there are some diamond games where I was super frustrated with the same level of shit that I was
Yep.
in.
It's
Where
a
I'm like,
toxic asshole.
like, like maybe I'm remembering this as being like warmer and softer, than it was, because
Oh yeah.
like, this is like,
You got the beer goggles on, right?
yeah, I
You're
got the
like,
road.
oh my god, she was so hot.
But I mean,
Just don't
yeah,
look her
no.
up.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I get a story about that one too. But yeah. Anyway,
Another intro. Another intro.
that's next week on LOLA podcast. The time I got drunk and accidentally tried to drink Gatorade powder and not Gatorade drink because I was drunk and I thought it would work. It doesn't, by the way, and it makes you violently ill. Like, because it's condensed, and like the other end is it was fruit punch, so it made me look like
Don't
I
give
was.
away the punchline. Come
It,
on.
it made me look like I was vomiting blood, right? And I'm drunk, and I don't know that that's not happening, but it's like blood-colored liquid that smells like alcohol and fruit, and I'm like, because of the Gatorade.
Right.
I'm like, oh, and then this chick walks up to me who had to be drunk and starts molesting me while I'm passed out, right?
All right, right there. You got to cut it. You got to keep the people wanting more.
No, I'm not going to tell the
Well,
rest. I'm telling you. So I'm vomiting into a toilet, and this chick is going through my pants, and I'm like, I can't get my head out of the toilet because I'm past the point of no return. I just drank powdered Gatorade, like a lot, like a cup of powdered Gatorade.
You must have a very attractive back.
Yeah. Well, I did then. It was before it grew in.
It wasn't so hairy.
Yeah. But I'm like, I'm puking. And I'm like, oh God, like this is terrible. I can't stop. I'm awful. She's like, oh, you poor thing. And I'm like, yeah, okay, thanks for the sympathy, but I'm throwing up here. I meant to lock the door and I didn't. So, blah. And then she's like, oh man, does this feel okay? And she started like rubbing my back. I'm like, yeah, that feels okay, but still, I don't really want to be touched right now because I'm vomiting. And then she's like, okay, zrip. And I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, I literally can't even enjoy this, and
all too easy.
Well, and that's the thing is like I'm literally, I'm being raped, I suppose, in one sense or another. Like I did not provide consent to this.
How are you dressed though?
Provocatively, And so
this sounds a lot like your fault.
I mean, to be fair, it was 3/4 my fault for being so
he
hot.
had most his hair at this point.
Yeah, I had that going on.
You wouldn't believe the mane on this guy.
I was about 50 pounds lighter than I am right now. I mean, I was looking good. So, anyway, so this starts happening, and I'm like, at any point in this thing, I can't get my head out of the toilet. So I have no idea what this woman looks like at all. So for the purposes of this story, she was super hot.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
Had to be.
Yeah.
Not desperately in need at all.
Not some weirdo that was just jacking off a dude in a bathroom. Like, she was supermodel hot.
They had that one guy on Stern one time, or maybe it was O&A. It was one of those like podcasts where they do fucked up shit.
Well, hold on. I gotta get
being thrown up on.
Gotta get to the end real quick, and then you can do this. So it doesn't stop, and I'm still throwing up. I thought I was dry heaving. There was more down there. I'm not anymore. So I'm just actively vomiting again. And then I was like, oh, this is how drunk I am. I was like, oh, maybe she needs to use the bathroom. And if I let her have the toilet, she would stop molesting me. So I flush, and then I'm like, it's okay. There's a bathtub right here. And I just roll into the bathtub and start throwing up into the bathtub. And I was like, you can use the toilet now. Okay, just make sure you lock the door so nobody molests me while I'm puking. Is that cool? Are we cool with that? That happened. Anyway, Howard Stern.
Oh, they had a guy on there who was into being thrown up on, and I just feel like this girl needs to meet him because I feel like that was her fetish.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, sweet, someone's finally throwing up from being drunk. This is what I'm into.
I've been waiting for this moment.
She had been. He was like a vulture sitting outside that bathroom door just waiting for someone to be throwing up.
I mean, so what you're saying is Gatorade Punch Mix is like roofies for throwing up idiots.
Yeah, she definitely was. There someone who like dared you to do it? It might have been her.
Okay,
like,
so
she would have been in on it.
No, what happened is I was told that it tastes the same. That's not true. Okay, so objectively, that's right off the bat. I was sold a bill of goods. That is not accurate.
I believe you.
Okay, so I'm like, and then it became a deal where like, oh, if you can do this, there was something that I would have wanted attached to it, and I don't remember what that was at the time. Maybe somebody was going to show me their boobs, or I don't know, something good.
He was drunk, all right? He doesn't know the whole story.
No, something good was going to happen, but it wasn't me getting accosted. It was something that did not involve me. Like something else was going to happen. I don't remember what it was. Like free drinks, or I don't know. Whatever. Maybe some chicks are going to make out or something. I have no idea, but it was something I was into that I wanted to see happen. And I thought, it can't be that bad. And if it tastes like Gatorade, whatever, I'll just grin and bear it. I've got water here so I can slam it afterward and I'll wash that shit out. Okay. So what I didn't know is that it's like from concentrate. Like you put like one little scoop of this shit and then you make like a pitcher. right? It wasn't like you put a scoop in and then you fill up a glass of water and then it's like tasty Gatorade. Like, nope. I had a glass, which was enough to make enough Gatorade for like a football team, right? So I'm already fucked. And so I take this thing. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. Woof. And whenever you try to drink Gatorade, it happens exactly like what you would expect if you were sober. Powder just shoots in your face. Like, you don't drink it, it doesn't roll out like water. But because I'm drunk and it's a drinking glass, I thought it would just follow fluid dynamics for whatever reason. Right? Because it's just like I'm drinking, right? And so it's sploosh, it hits my face. The first thing you're going to try to do is drink, which means you're sucking in. And so everything, my lungs, whatever, gets coated. But my game plan was to power through, if you'll recall. Right? Like I was just going to get as much in as possible, then drink water to wash it down. That was my plan. So I'm ignoring this volcanic eruption that's happening in my chest, and I'm just trying to jam more in. It's only making the problem, of course, exponentially worse. And so, as much as I can get in, and it couldn't have been that much. I mean, I was like a quarter of the way through the glass. And then I immediately go, what I didn't realize is that it would come out of my mouth like a volcano, shooting everywhere, but also out my nose as if I had snorted raw Gatorade cocaine. Right?
Classic raw Gatorade
boom,
cocaine.
Blam, up, out, and down. So I had like trails on my shirt from my nose and going, and I'm like, I was like, and so I go for the water, but I can't stop coughing, so I can't drink the water that I had prepared, and everything smells like fruit punch and pain. It was an equal mix of those two things. And then it causes me to gag because I have powder in my throat and I can't expel it and I can't breathe because breathing in, I just breathe in more that's like floating in my nose and my mouth and everything else. And I'm like, and it's like this. And like I said,
you almost died that night.
Well, I could not see how any like supermodel would find this display attractive before I run and go throw up.
Boy, were you wrong.
But clearly she's off the runway and ready to party. So I'm doing this. I'm like, and then I'm like, I run to the bathroom. Well, I take as much water as I finally can on my first ability to breathe. And that just immediately is like, and now you will throw up. Right? Like, body's like, okay, we got what we need. Throw up time. Hit it. And I run in, and I thought I shut the door, and then but I now in hindsight, there's no way I could have locked it because I was in an absolute haul-ass panic, right? Then I've told you what happens from that point forward.
So
the
kids,
story remains the same.
Yeah.
Remember, kids, don't try to drink Gatorade powder.
So I did have to explain.
Unless you're into that.
I did have to explain to my buddy why his bathtub looked like a murder scene. And I was like, "You fed me fucking Gatorade powder. Fuck you. Like, that's why your shit looks terrible. Fuck off." Truly happened. College.
What a story.
And that is League of Legends.
Yeah.
On that bombshell.
Good night, everybody. No, we should really wrap up the conversation on League before we sign out. So I do want to talk about boosting a little bit. On the boosting front, like I said, I can see that mentality of I'm gonna get diamond, I'm gonna do this, then I'm gonna be at home with my people and blah blah blah. Well, not only does it diminish the accomplishment, but what you think is gonna happen is not gonna happen. These elos are not incredibly meaningfully different, and the reality is, like, if you can't get to diamond, right? Like, and you're in, and like you're okay. So first off, let me back up on my logic train. Gold is not meaningfully different from plat. It's just things happen slightly better. A lot of the same problems are still there. Silver is not meaningfully different than gold. Silver is meaningfully different than plat. right? So if I am full on
No.
2 tiers away, there's a meaningful difference. So if you're paying for boosting for 2 tiers, that would be the logical connection. Is if I'm going to get to what I perceive to be my skill, air quotes, and get out of this shitbag place I find myself in, you're going to need to go at least 2 tiers higher, right? The problem is, if you can't climb into gold out of silver, you're not a platinum.
Yep.
Right? And so, look at me, for example. I'm a platinum player that demoted to gold. I bombed all the way down to the bottom of the gold. Then I pulled my head out of my ass and I easily got out of gold. And I'm back to platinum. I could still claim to be good enough to hit diamond because I so easily catapulted out of gold. Okay. That being said, if you are stuck where you're at, you have systemic problems in your own gameplay. Artificially like cannonballing yourself forward to elos is not going to solve those problems. And the fact that like you are flailing in the elo you're at beforehand doesn't change that. It just means that like you need to fix probably systemic issues that are preventing your climb, right?
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest takeaways too is what you said earlier about like with boosting, like they don't care about how it looks to be boosted. They're just gonna get you to what you want to get to, and then they're gonna wipe their hands clean of it. So there's a very good chance that your friends, people that you play with, like they're gonna be able to tell you got boosted. And that to me, like that's the whole point. I wanted to be higher, like to get to diamond, like bragging rights. Like I want to say that I'm.
He's gone. Or am I gone? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So Blake's gone.
Oh, hey. Welcome
He's
back, guys.
frozen, and there he is.
Okay. I was wondering
Alright,
what the hell
alright.
just happened.
Your computer
Okay.
had a hiccup.
Okay, cool.
But to finish the thought, the thing that like I think most of us get out of ranking in league is bragging rights to our friends. And like if you get boosted, like your friends who play league will know. They will find out pretty fast. Like if your skill level doesn't change at all and you suddenly have these insane games in your match history, they're going to know and they're going to call you out for it, and that's going to feel way worse than if you couldn't climb to the place you wanted to.
Right.
So,
And
Yeah,
the
like
other end.
if I saw like Gensos and Diamond all of a sudden, I'd be like, what is going on? Shout out Gensos, you made it into the episode.
that is some nefarious shit going on there.
Right. How did you contact Satan to sell your soul so quickly? What mechanism? But
I'd like to know.
I mean, not like realistically though. It's not like it's not an achievement. It's not a bragging right. You just look like a dumbass. And realistically, the one thing that we haven't really talked about that's also in the background is like I had friends who got boosted. I had friends who got boosted to gold. Okay? That should literally be the least detectable of boosts is getting just to gold. Because they were silver. And then they won like 10 or 12 games in a row. And then all of a sudden, oh, boom, they're back. Right? They're in gold. And then the booster quits. Okay, you had 12 games in your match history over what, 200 or something? Fine. That shouldn't be all that detectable. That shouldn't. They got detected by Riot.
Yeah.
And they lost their end of season rewards. So what you just paid for, you don't get. And and I'm not even saying that's like, oh my god, it's so rare that somebody got caught. Like this happened to like 3 out of 5 of them. You know, and it wasn't even that many seasons. It was like 2-3 seasons ago. And
So
they've
the
only
detection
gotten
systems
better.
probably gotten better. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like fuck, man. Riot doesn't mess around with this shit. You will probably lose what you are paying for anyway. What's the point?
And could be worse, like if you have a lot of skins, if you, like getting a new account is not always fun or easy. So
Well, okay, so that's interesting, and not to incentivize the behavior, but they didn't lose the skins they bought. They lost
okay,
they lost their Victorious skin and all other ranked rewards ever.
gotcha.
Mhm.
So like
Yeah.
any
Or
previous
even if you do
Victorious
get better.
skins. Yeah. And so like
Yeah, and I
you're
think
fucked.
the other thing you stand to lose, like one of my biggest things with like playing League and why I like this podcast a lot is like I don't really care what rank people are. I really do not care what rank people are. What I care about is if you like to have fun playing the game and you don't think like you're better than people in the same elo as you. Like if you're Iron 4, as long as you're willing to admit that like you have room to improve and you're not good at the game, like I will play with you. I have no problem with playing with people who are bad at the game. What frustrates me is people who won't admit their own mistakes and blame other people, and boosting is like a systemic issue with that. So like if I found out one of my friends like boosted and then was still like complaining about the game and being hard stuck and stuff like that, like I'd drop that person really fast. Like I would not play with them anymore. Like that is not a mentality I want to deal with in League of Legends. So I think that you stand to not only like lose rewards, but like there might be some people who you play with who are like, I'm not going to play with someone who deals with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And just to be clear, I don't believe that duo queuing is boosting. Like a
Yeah,
lot of
I
people
don't.
say, like, "Oh, if you duo, you're getting boosted." Like, no, that's
No,
being
because
adjusted
if you're
for.
an anchor on the person who's boosting you and they can still pull you through, then it is what it
That's
is.
what it is.
Because that's how Riot designed it, right? They designed a
Yeah.
duo queue. I mean, it's not a true solo queue. If it was a true solo queue, then that would be a different argument. But no, I mean, it's a solo duo queue, so you can duo with anyone you want.
Yeah, and by the way, for the record, I will add that in previous seasons, I have told, like, I don't know how long anybody's been listening to the podcast for, but in previous seasons, I have said, if you want to climb, you actually make it harder by duoing because there is a penalty to like pairing your elo, right? So
Yep.
Riot will add X% to your elo if you're a duo, or they'll match you against another duo, right? And then that'll balance out. That being said, this in the last 2 seasons in particular, 9 and 10, it is. And before I said it wasn't worth it to duo, it made it harder to climb. This season, I think it is worth it to duo, and it makes it easier to climb, simply because you can guarantee that you're bringing in one person who's not a bad actor into your game. Because it feels absolutely rampant this season. So I am also making no excuses for season 10. This is not a normal season. 2020 was not a normal year. You know, like
Still isn't.
like the Great Depression wasn't just sad. You know, like like
I got
these.
the big sad.
You know what
I thought it was sad.
No, I mean, fuck. Like, I get it. Season 10 fucking sucked. Like, it was terrible. I had that same experience. I hated it. I've hated all of it. Right? I went down to the lowest elo I've had in years this season, and I lost like 18 games in a row doing it. I get you, brother. I hear what you're saying, and I feel it. I went through it, and I fought back out of it. It sucks, but if you're good, you can climb. You can. It may not happen in the short term. You may lose 18 games before you do it. But if you're going to get out of the elo, you'll get out of the elo. It's really about the grind. There are always short term streaks.
So this isn't all negative. I have coached and played with this person. I believe they can get their goal. I don't think they are hard stuck where they are. They can definitely do it. So
yeah. So I mean, also have faith
I really
in
hope
yourself.
to hear this.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit about don't take the easy way with literally anything. The easy way is not usually helpful. So yes, it's going to be more annoying. Yes, it's going to be harder. But if you commit to something that you believe in yourself that you can do it, I think you'll always feel better about it.
Yeah, and you'll be proud of it. Yeah.
All right.
Aspirational.
Good notes. Good vibes.
So, all right. good podcast. I think that's a great place to end.
He actually had about an hour of league content, so that's
Well,
still for the people who want it.
Okay, so to be fair, we went at least 27 minutes into bullshit. Then I had a 10-minute aside about
I forgot about
drinking
the 10-minute
Gatorade.
aside.
So it's about 50-50 at the end of the day.
That's fair. Put a caveat in the description. Caveat in the description.
Yeah, timestamps. Like times that Blake was sad, and then times that Blake was really stupid. These are the 2 stories that you're gonna hit. So, all right. So with that, good night, everybody. All right, guys.
Hell yeah.
That was
Podcast
fun.
done.
I had a good time.
It was
Yeah,
a good
I think
time.
that went well. That was.
I didn't expect my subject to go as long as it did, but I thought
I
it was
didn't
very
either,
organic.
but it was good. I mean, we got more out of that than we expected. I got as much out of Wormlax as I expected on that's not meant to be a dick thing. I just thought it would go.
The way he said it.
I got exactly out of Wormlocks what I expected.
Well, no, I thought it would. I thought it would go about 20 minutes, and it went about 20 minutes. That's all I'm saying.
No, it was good. It was good.
So
I just didn't expect to get a story about you being assaulted tonight. That's a new one.
That happened. That was Springfield,
Should have
Missouri.
seen it coming.
Springfield, Missouri, man. When you got this moose cock, you can't just walk around.
Like, even though
you can't just be throwing up in toilets.
Even though all I can see is your back, I can smell that moose a mile away.
And see, stories like that are why Jay-Z has an entourage. I just need a bodyguard, and then I also probably need a cock guard as well.
Classic.
Just a guy who's devoted to covering only my wiener.
If you pay the right price, I'd be happy to do
it. No. There's nope. There's just no amount of money.
You're the one who put it out there. Don't blame me.
No, I'm taking it right back. As far as it was out there, my penis is now retreated into my body, recoiling from your offer.
I'm doing my job well then.
By the way, the way I've been doing this is I cut short the audio podcast and then I leave this shit going and leave the stream on until I'm like done uploading all the shit. So we have a little bit of after for the folks that watch the YouTube. So enjoy that, guys. YouTube fellas,
nice.
you're in on all this action.
The secret life of podcasters.
Behind
very glamorous.
LOLA After Dark. Yeah. All right. Stream's dead. See you guys.